Last weekend, a live-action remake of Disney's The Little Mermaid opened in theaters, so today I'm going to rank all 4 of the Little Mermaid movies from worst to best. Coming in last place at number 4 is The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea. Hey, what if we did the first movie again, but instead of it being a mermaid who wants to be human, it's about a human who wants to be a mermaid. We're so clever. The film is so lazy, they even got the same voice actress as Ursula to voice the villain in this film. The new characters in this film of a walrus and penguin also aren't that memorable, and they just feel like cheap versions of Timon and Pumbaa. It's just a lazy cash grab sequel that just rehashes the original. Number 3, Little Mermaid 3: Ariel's Beginning. Even though this movie also wasn't very good, I will at least say this, it did something different rather than just doing the first movie again. However, this film's story is also lazy because it basically just rips off Footloose. The songs in this movie are also just awful and forgettable. The villain's okay, Sally Field gives a good performance, they just don't give her much to work with, and she's very clearly supposed to be Ursula, but for some reason they decided not to follow through with that. It's got good animation, but a very weak story and is very forgettable. Number 2, The Little Mermaid from 2023. This movie manages to find a pretty good balance between doing the story differently enough that its existence feels justified, but also being careful enough to keep the same spirit as the original instead of making it completely unrecognizable as the same story. Most of the performances are fantastic. Halle Bailey as Ariel shines at the spotlight. Melissa McCarthy disappears into the role of Ursula, and I was pleasantly surprised by how good that performance was. There are a few clunkier performances, mainly from Sebastian and Triton, but even then, they're not horrible, they're just sort of awkward. The visuals in the film are also very gorgeous. Now, some of the new takes on the songs I feel were fine, they were done better in the original, and there are a couple of new songs I feel were unneeded. But the film fleshes out the relationship between Eric and Ariel and makes it more believable. There are a few issues with its story structure, which is why it's not quite number 1. I do think that maybe some of the musical numbers could have been better choreographed, maybe the story could have been structured a bit better, but overall this is a remake that I think swam instead of sank. And coming at first place is the original Little Mermaid from 1989. Even though on both my Disney Renaissance ranking and a ranking of all the animated Disney movies that I did a couple years ago before Encanto came out, this one didn't land particularly high on either of those lists, it's still good. There's a reason that over 30 years later, this movie is still being talked about and hasn't been forgotten like a lot of other animated Disney films such as The Rescuers Down Under or The Black Cauldron. This is also a very important piece of cinema. It saved Disney from bankruptcy. Now, while the main characters of the film aren't as interesting as characters in later Disney films, it still laid the groundwork for more of the modern Disney animated blockbusters such as Frozen and Tangled. This took the formula of adapting a fairy tale and combined it with the story beats of a Broadway show. Part of Your World is Ariel's I Want song, which was later used as the formula for songs like First Time in Forever from Frozen, When Will My Life Begin from Tangled, How Far I'll Go from Moana, Waiting on a Miracle from Encanto, you get the idea. The animation is, of course, very gorgeous and full of life, and the characters are memorable. Now, maybe by today's standards, it's not particularly groundbreaking, but it laid the groundwork for all the modern Disney blockbusters. It's the reason you have your modern favorites.
It's an oversimplification of events, but yes.
And for that reason, it deserves to come in at number 1. I'm going to share a ranking of the Little Mermaid movies, and I will see you next time.